to my favorite time of the year and many other horror channels. And it's time to bring all the lovely fans a new October series. At first, I was kind of at a loss with my channel changing from narrations to more in-depth videos like my Frightening 5, which, yes, I am writing a script, to my reviews or even true crime videos. With American Horror Story currently airing its 8th season in the series, I thought it was a better time than any to start reviewing the series. And I actually started watching the series from season 1 and continue to still watch till this day, even though I'll get into what I think the series has become. But let's begin with a little background. I started watching American Horror Story during its first season, which is referred to as Murder House. I originally started watching with my parents because it was fall break, and fall break fell around October, so I wanted to get into the Halloween spirit, and my parents thought I would enjoy it. And frankly, I did. Murder House actually takes inspiration from the real Murder Castle of H.H. Holmes, which is what really got me into watching it. And it talked about real cases like Black Delilah, and the supernatural nature behind all of it got me kind of hooked. Of course, there are flaws, and there are reasons why I enjoy it, and reasons I'll critique. The pilot episode I found confusing for some time, but of course the season goes on to explain some of the things going on. Like why the maid looks young and hot to the husband, and the wife sees her as innocent, kind of crazy old soul. But still, some things don't make sense to me. If the gay men's bodies were found in the house and people knew they died, why were they buried on the home grounds? The maid wanted Ben to find her remains so she could be dead and with her mother, but does that mean the dead gay men had to also be buried in the grounds of the murder house? Surely their bodies were not left there to rot. It seems the maid is the only one who needs to actually have her remains found so she can be set free, or did I just interpret that whole episode wrong and she wanted the Gilf to be found guilty instead? That was probably the most confusing part for me. Does your body need to be buried at Murder House for your soul to remain there, or just for you to die there? I would assume it's just so you die there because the intruders come back even though their bodies were found somewhere else. So I will assume it's the maid only wanting the Gilf to be brought to justice. Also, why does Violet have to be an annoying teen for most of the season? It seems the writers made her so she was somehow smart and confident, yet also wanted to commit suicide at the same time, which drastically contradicts itself. I would actually feel more for Violet if she gained the confidence as the season went on, only for it to be crushed when she does finally commit suicide. And then for her to bounce back, only to find out she was dead the whole time from her suicide attempt. That would have been much more interesting, in my opinion, for her to start out very low self-esteem and still being edgy. By far, I think Violet's character was probably the worst of the season, to be honest. Tate's character somewhat gets a pass because he's supposed to be insane and mentally crazy. Ben I just found to be an asshole for most of the time. I felt like the writers wanted you to pity him, but I just found him annoying up until the end about. And I think Vivian and the Gilf are the best characters. Vivian has valid reasons for basically getting rid of her husband after he continuously lied to her and their daughter. I don't know, maybe that's why I like her the most. I like the Gilf mainly because of how the actress portrayed the character, and I honestly love the actress who plays her. She always can pull off a character you love to hate and then turn into loving them because they have a good side. She pulls that off perfectly for every role I've ever seen her in the series. The plot itself, well, I thought it was pretty solid for what it set out to do. I thought it fit well, and there was some not so great camera work for like some of the characters' reactions where it was in an office-style sitcom kind of way, where the camera would zoom into their face and their expression would like grow from the previous, which was a turnoff for me for the style it was trying to go for, but for the most part it wasn't very common and it wasn't very noticeable. Obviously, there were some kinks in the season, and it was the first season and such, but like with everything, it could have been improved. One other thing I wanted to touch on. Tate and Violet's characters. I believe the show showed what it's like for children in their position. Tate is tied to the murder house, of course, after dying in the house, so he's able to spend time near Violet, and he ends up, of course, falling in love with her, which is probably the most interesting storyline, actually, in this season, even though Violet's character is not that great. Violet has a hard time moving and is revealed to be, of course, suffering suicidal thoughts and self-harm. She eventually cannot control the thoughts, and in a twist is discovered dead, of course, after swallowing too many pills, as I mentioned previously. Tate, however, is homicidal. He had in the past committed a school shooting and was shot by officers in his bedroom. I believe the two show what happens to children when bullied harshly and families torn apart at a young age and neglected as teenagers. Men, more than likely, will become more violent towards others and believing it is everyone else in the wrong, whereas women, more than often, see everything as their own fault and decide that they should be punished solely for the consequences. Again, this is just the majority, and not all. However, Violet's character, as I said, could be improved as her characters completely contrast from the profile of a woman who is what she does. However, Tate does fit the profile of a man you expect to commit his actions. I think Season 1 is probably the second best season in the series of American Horror Story, which may bring up the question, which one is the best? Well, that's for the next video. I hope you're enjoying the series so far, because this is my October series. I didn't really have any other ideas, so I'm not going to go back and change it, as it is already October 9th when I'm recording this. Tell me what you think. Subscribe if you like content like this, like the video to make my day, of course, and as always, comment your thoughts on Season 1 of American Horror Story, and if you disagree or agree with my opinions. And as always, stay freaky, my little freaks, and I'll see you next time.